G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life, and today is a very exciting day because after 7 years I've bought back my very first car. Okay, well, not my exact first car. My first car was orange and this one is silver, but unfortunately there is no hope of bringing Tegan the Integra back from the dead as 17-year-old me rolled her down a bank. But in every other regard, this 2005 Integra Type S is identical to my first car. And today, we're going to be taking a trip down memory lane and restoring this Integra Type S manual back to its former glory. I picked this car up as a trade-in from a local dealer here in Wellington, and very quickly, as soon as I sat behind the wheel, the memories of taking delivery of my orange one 7 years ago came flooding back. It reminded me of how excellent this 5-speed manual transmission feels, how tight the steering is, and how lovely those white-faced gauges look. At the time, the fastest car I'd driven was my dad's 1.5 litre Honda Jazz Sport, so understandably when I got behind the wheel of this 2 litre Integra Type S, I thought it was the fastest car in the world. Today though, it's pretty slow, but certain aspects haven't changed coming back to my first car. The transmission, even though it is not the 6-speed, still feels excellent in typical Honda fashion. I remember practicing my first heel-toe downshifts in this thing. You just can't beat it. Brings back some awesome memories. And you can go like foot to the floor everywhere and you're never speeding because it's so slow. This thing is awesome, man. I'm looking forward to getting this thing restored. Now, my American viewers in particular will notice something quite odd about this Integra Type S, and that is that it has the base 118 kilowatt K20A3 engine rather than the proper VTEC 154 kilowatt K20Z1 engine. The reason for this is that in Japan, where this car was imported, at least for these facelift ones anyway, the Type R model with the red top 162 kilowatt K20A was the performance one, and then this car, the Type S, was the base model. Whereas in the rest of the world, the Type S was the performance variant and the VTI was the base. I actually reviewed a New Zealand new Type S earlier this year, and it was the perfect Integra. Basically the Type R engine and 6-speed gearbox, but with the comfy Type S interior. However, Honda New Zealand only sold about 15 proper Type S's here, making finding one next to impossible. These Japanese domestic market Type S's are far more plentiful. And while this one only revs to 7,000 RPM rather than 8,000 or 8,500 and has a fairly pedestrian 118 kilowatt or 160 horsepower, it's got a pod filter, a close ratio 5-speed manual, and an 1180 kg curb weight, so a 0 to 100 time of around 7.5 seconds is perfectly achievable. The other great thing with these Integras is that while they are very basic here inside, with the only features being air conditioning, electric windows and mirrors, and a radio, they are extremely well made. All of the switchgear has a really nice high quality sensation to it. The tiny Momo steering wheel feels awesome, and the quality of the materials on the sport seats, the door cards and the dash is of a pretty high standard for a fairly inexpensive 20-year-old car. Obviously it's not on the level of European cars from the era, but compared with its contemporaries like the Celica or even slightly newer cars like the BRZ, this has a really nice interior space. So what do we need to do to this Type S to get it back to the condition of my orange one? Well, as you can see from the outside, it has not been properly cleaned in years, with moss and mildew growing all over it. The headlights are really cloudy, there's scrapes all over the bumpers and side skirts, the wheels are brown with brake dust, and the engine bay is utterly filthy. Inside, it's missing the spare wheel underneath the boot floor, the cargo cover is broken, the interior has a rather strong musty smell, and desperately needs a good vacuum. The warrant of fitness and registration are also due in the next couple of weeks, so we'll need to get that sorted. But otherwise, mechanically, it's actually pretty mint. It's just been serviced recently, there's no clunks or rattles from the suspension, all of the Bridgestone tyres have a pretty decent amount of tread, and the gearbox and clutch shift perfectly. So let's begin by confirming that it is indeed mechanically okay by getting a new warrant of fitness, and then we can start the deep cleaning process. After taking the Integra down to Honda in Wellington, it flew through a warrant of fitness without issue, and I put a few months of registration on it as well. Then I drove home and set to work water blasting the utterly filthy exterior. I reckon this thing hadn't been properly cleaned in at least a year, as there was a phenomenal amount of moss growing in all the panel gaps and crevices and around the window seals. There was pollen and tree sap baked into the roof, bonnet and boot, and all of the boot and door jambs were full of leaves and spiderwebs. But after a quarter of an hour of blasting away, finally the majority of the car was clean. So I filled up a wash bucket and began scrubbing off all of the tree sap and tar littering the entire car. Fortunately, after a couple hours cleaning away, the Integra was starting to look shiny again, and after clay barring the whole exterior, I began polishing. The bonnet, roof and boot were unfortunately faded beyond repair, as even after polishing away for quite some time, I saw little improvement. So I gave up and just polished the yellow headlights, which came up great, and then drove down to my local body shop supply store for some satin silver metallic touch-up paint. There were plenty of nasty stone chips on the bonnet and bumper that needed touching up, along with half a dozen significant scrapes all over the bumpers and side skirts. While touch-up paint never looks as good as a proper respray, it's also $20 to do every panel rather than $300 per panel. So on a car this cheap, it's a very cost-effective way to make it look significantly better. With the whole exterior pretty much done, I finished off by reinstalling the Integra badge and applying a lick of tyre shine, and with that, it was time to move inside. I have absolutely no idea why the previous owner decided that their Japanese sports car was the ideal vehicle to transport hay in, but they did, which left me with the massive job of brushing all the grass out of the carpet fibres. Not a particularly easy task with Honda's cheap thin carpet they use in the boot. Fortunately, the rest of the car uses much higher quality materials, which cleaned up easily with a simple vacuum. After wet vacuuming the stained seats and wiping down all the plastics, I scraped off the unnecessary stickers on the windscreen, installed a new registration label holder, and cleaned all of the windows. And with that, the 273,000 kilometer Integra Type S was looking and driving as good as new. Even when I first picked this thing up, it drove great. But the experience was somewhat tarnished by the fact that the interior stunk and was full of rubbish and the exterior was green. But now this Integra Type S is just like my orange one, particularly inside. This has done 273,000 Ks and the only bit of wear is the sunfade on the steering wheel. The seats are not worn out at all, neither is the shift knob, and even though it is very basic and has basically no features at all, it is still a really well designed interior. I remember when I had my orange one, I used to put my wallet in this tray down here, and then you can still have the cup holders underneath. There's a slot over here in the door that's perfect for a phone. The back seats are usable. I've even slept in the back of one of these Integras before. It's just a great interior space, and I think particularly these facelift ones look fantastic on the outside. But the best part about this car, and what I loved about it when I first picked up my orange one, is the drive. While the engine is far from a proper VTEC K20A, nonetheless, it still makes for a brilliant driving experience, and really it's the rest of the chassis that makes this car so fantastic. With good Bridgestone tyres on it, even in slightly greasy conditions like this is just an incredible handling car. And in my mind, it's the perfect amount of power too, where you can be foot to the floor pretty much all the time, and you're still not even really going all that quick. A car is best enjoyed when you can use 100% of the available performance 100% of the time, and in this, you absolutely can. On typical New Zealand back roads like this, you know, what good is it if you've got a car that's got 400 kilowatt or something, because you're never going to be able to use it. Whereas with this, you can use every inch of performance at every opportunity. It's absolutely fantastic. A lot of people accuse me of being biased towards particular brands on this channel. I'm really not. I look at all cars through the same lens, and I ask myself two questions. The first is, can it do everything. Can I park it up at a car meet and have it look great? Can I take it on track and have it hold its own without cooking its brakes? Can I take it down a back road and have it actually be enjoyable to drive, i.e. an engine with a usable amount of power that puts it down well and makes a great noise in the process, good handling, good steering feel, great feeling transmission with short gears, a throttle that is quick to respond and doesn't rev hang? This car's got all of that. And if it can do all of that and be relatively usable day to day, i.e. have an acceptable ride quality and a few features inside, then in my mind, it's a great car. And the second question is, do I feel like I'm getting what I'm paying for? I like cars that are good value for money with a usable but still engaging driving experience, and this Integra is the absolute epitome of that. It looks great, it's awesome fun to be behind the wheel of, it's extremely communicative through all of the control surfaces, and it's still usable day to day. But it's also 20 years old, not particularly fast, and very poorly equipped. It's a pretty average car in the grand scheme of things, but it's an absolutely sensational $5,000 car. And now that it's been fully restored to its former glory, I'm going to have a lot of fun over the next couple of months reliving my teenage years in Tegan the Integra version 3.0. So if you'd like to see all of the other cars that I've restored here on the channel, then click the links popping up right about now, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.